So as with all good things, there are bad ones right next to them. And here I have made a list of top 3 worst heroes in Overwatch. But while writing and thinking about this topic, I came to the conclusion that all heroes in Overwatch are pretty good. And it's very hard to decide which ones are bad. Cause in all honesty, there are none, which in turn made me smile, but on the other hand, made this list very hard to make. So to make this list even possible, I had to alter some rules. Eventually I decided to make a list of heroes that I'm bad with or disliked for whatever reasons. So take this with enormous doses of salt. Number 3. As I started writing down heroes for this list, I managed to put first 2 easily. But this one was placed in this spot after a while of intense thinking on the toilet bowl. D.Va here is my number 3. While she has infinite ammo and pretty good mobility, her character story is just unrealistic for too many reasons. And her damage output is just abysmal. While I've done very well with D.Va and I know how to play her, that mech of hers feels like using a super soaker filled with cat piss. Useless almost always, and range is almost non-existent. It doesn't help that her ultimate is possibly the slowest to charge. While it is basically like atomic explosion when it comes to this game, it still can be used so rarely, I'm not even sure it affects gameplay that much. That aside, when it comes to story, I think, okay, now she's fighting some big ass robots. So it would make more sense to equip her with a minigun that shoots 50 cal rounds, not a fucking shotgun! That for all intentions and purposes is useful against softer targets at point blank range. So tell me again, how is she supposed to defeat a giant robot that most likely has very thick armor? Number 2. Next, I probably have the most controversial pick of all, McCree. I must remind the criteria for this list. Heroes that I hate, am bad with, or simply find some problems with. Basically subjective opinion, not objective. So why is McCree here? Well, first off, it's his playstyle. While anyone can play him pretty good up close, which I do, ranged battles with careful aiming is what I lack, and feel that because of this, McCree falls short with me. I believe I'm not the only one who's bad with this hero when it comes to ranged battles, and really the skill cap for this hero is quite high. He's not easy to play at all, and it requires a lot of effort to make him good compared to other heroes. And mainly this is why he's here. So yeah, you can call me a noob, which some idiots still will, but you can't deny requirement for good aim with McCree, which I don't possess. Yet it's kinda odd. After all, I'm pretty good with Widow. I suppose it's something about firing from hip, but put a scope on it and I guess I'm good. Number 1. Now finally, number 1. For this choice was very easy since I hated playing this hero pretty much since day 1. Winston. The gorilla-shaped bullet takes the stinking pile's top spot in a landslide. While Winston is one of the easiest to play in Overwatch and he is a tank, you would think that surviving at least would be easy. Yeah, no. Since Winston has his magic fairy sparkler that is barely more effective than his normal melee attack and range of it is very small, you have to get closer to enemy. You have to take a risk to get kills. While Reinhardt is similar, at least he is not expected to jump around electrocuting everyone to death like it's going out of style. And spoiler alert, it is. And it's not even the case of high risk, high reward situation. Winston just deals too little damage to compete with other tanks, and that's it. While sure, he deals more damage on average than Mei or Mercy, he is still on the bottom of that particular list. And for a tank that has barely any range is pretty bad. Best of all, his ultimate is even more ridiculous. Sure, you get to throw people around with every hit, but as a surprise, your hits deal less than your normal melee damage. So getting kills is harder. And okay, not every ultimate is meant to be some sort of a nuke. But even with knockback allowing you to clear points or throw people in insta-kill pits, Winston simply lacks usefulness in most matches. See, when I play him and get gold medals all around, This signifies to me that my team is doing barely anything, instead of, oh look, I'm doing great. And that's kind of a sad thing. Okay, I do acknowledge that Winston is an agent of chaos, aka that thing that makes enemies panic when he attacks. But really, to be credible at this sort of thing, you must have damage to back that role, otherwise you are just going around scratching people and dying pointlessly, which happens too much with Winston. Besides, if you had choice between Reinhardt and Winston, which one would you choose? And there we go, my list of worst heroes in Overwatch. While I do know that there are some hardcore fans, at least with one of the heroes I mentioned, I remind you that you are still bad with some other heroes that, for example, I might be good with. So all in all, take this with a huge amount of salt, and hey, if you want to share your own list of worst heroes, well, go ahead down below. And if you care, you can share this too.